My name is Dr. Rambanepasi. I come from Zimbabwe. I practice as a gynecologist. I learned about the MAHE fertility training program through a communication from our Ministry of Health. This came about as a result of the work that our First Lady has been doing in supporting the Ministry of Health. So there was a communication to the effect that the Merck Foundation is offering training packages in fertility and other health programs. There are a number of challenges that we are facing in Zimbabwe in terms of fertility treatment. The first challenge we have is that we have a shortage of people who are skilled and trained in fertility treatment, especially IVF and associated services. So you find that currently in the government hospital, the public hospitals, there are no people who are offering this service because of the shortage of skill. The other challenge we have is the sheer shortage of resources in the government sector, in the public sector. The resources that are needed to offer fertility treatment, the resources that are needed to diagnose and evaluate patients for infertility. And then we also have a challenge of perceptions. Some people in my country think that if you are fertile, it could be a result of witchcraft, it could be a result of a bad omen and things like that. So these views and beliefs also hamper access to treatment in fertility. Currently in my country, we have 2 gynecologists who are practicing as fertility experts, but these are practicing in the private sector. There is no fertility treatment being given in the public hospitals. In terms of embryologists, we do have only one embryologist in the country. He also is in the private sector, and there is no one in the public sector. In Zimbabwe, at the moment, there are no training programs for fertility. Currently, we do have a shortage, like I said earlier on, the shortage of resources and even infrastructure for us to be able to offer fertility treatment. The people that are offering fertility treatment currently are doing it from their own resources in the private sector, but not many patients can afford to access this kind of service in the private sector. In the government, there is nothing. There's no infrastructure for fertility treatment, and there's also no equipment and resources for treatment of fertility issues. I would say the awareness for fertility treatment and their availability in my country is improving. Back in the days, people would just suffer in silence, not knowing what is available, and some patients will end up going to traditional healers and spiritual healers, and they'll get abused in that line of treatment. But at the moment now, people are beginning to appreciate that medical treatment of infertility is available. But the challenge is the cost. The cost is quite prohibitive at the moment, and also the availability in my country is limited. In terms of male fertility, there is a perception in my country that is very common amongst our people, that men are always fertile. So when a couple fails to have a baby, it's always the woman always is the one who is blamed for the infertility. There is a lot of stigmatization of women who are suffering or who are labeled as infertile. In most cases, since most of the people in my country think that men are always fertile, so if a couple fails to have a baby, the woman usually gets divorced. What we also tend to see is that where there is infertility, there are also cases of physical, emotional, and verbal abuse of the woman involved. Society generally, they are now starting to appreciate, but in cases of marriage within a couple, there is a problem there. The man usually tends to abuse his wife if there is infertility. So the MAHE fertility training program is going to be very important for me, for my practice. It's going to widen the scope of services that I offer to my patients. So this represents personal development on my part. And then for my patients, this MAHE training program will also ensure that those that are suffering from infertility will have more options in terms of treatment. And for my country, this basically increases access to fertility treatment for our people. As I said earlier on, we only have 2 fertility specialists in my country, so my training is going to increase the number of options that are available for the people of Zimbabwe. Upon getting to Zimbabwe, I would like to immediately start offering the fertility treatment. I will start with intrauterine insemination, which is relatively simple, low cost and low tech treatment. And then I hope that in about a year or 2, I'll be able to start offering in vitro fertilization. In terms of the government, I would like to lobby the government to buy the necessary equipment, to set up the necessary infrastructure for us to be able to offer fertility treatment in the public sector. There are a number of things that we learn during this MAHE fertility training program. The first thing is on how to follow up patients that are being treated for fertility. We learned about the theater aspects, like how to pick up oocytes from a woman who has been stimulated. We also had access to the theater in terms of endoscopy, laparoscopy, and hysteroscopy. And then we also had a lot of access to ultrasound scanning in terms of diagnosing and following up patients that are being treated for fertility. We also spent quite a lot of time in the andrology lab, learning how to prepare semen and So what I would say to those that are coming after us is that the training is very good. It's quite comprehensive. They should take it seriously, as it will actually improve their practice. So I would like to thank the Merck Foundation for this opportunity. So on behalf of the people of Zimbabwe, I would like to thank the Merck Foundation for this opportunity for training in fertility. It will definitely improve access to fertility treatment for the people of Zimbabwe.